hammering the wood in to make it sure that it's supporting something.
Sure makes me really nervous to think about just letting the engine sit on these pieces of wood.
Transmission removal is on pause because I dropped the only tool that I have that can remove a couple of these bolts into the bilge, which the bilge on an island packet is it's not 6 feet deep. It's like 4 feet deep. Success! I was able to retrieve it.
There it is!
Barely.
I'm Carlie, and this is Brady. In early 2020, we sold our house and most of our possessions and took our first big leap into living our vagabond dreams. We recently hiked 800 miles of the Appalachian Trail, and now we are purchasing a sailboat to start sailing around the world, all while capturing a creative journal of the journey. We hope to inspire you to live your own dreams. Subscribe, and thanks for watching.
So far this morning, we have cleaned the floor and then moved our freezer out of our aft cabin where it sits typically on just in the floor in our aft cabin. Moved it out here so Brady could have access from that side, which until this point we have not done. So that's where he is now. I think he just hit his head. You did, didn't you? He had only partially removed the alternator up until this point, and it was just kind of stuck on that side. So that's what he's doing now, is removing the alternator. And today's goal is to get the transmission out, isn't it? That's our end goal, is to actually get this old transmission out, unattached and out of the engine. That is kind of a long ways from happening. We are gonna have to turn off power to do that because of, like we've mentioned before, our ground wire is grounded through there, so nothing would be grounded. So we're gonna turn everything off to do that. So we'll want it to be cooler in the boat, so probably an evening thing, getting everything ready up until that point. So Brady has disconnected the alternator and pulled it out now. And we've just wrapped the positive terminal in some electrical tape. Not sure if that's the best option, but that's what we have, and we just want to make sure it doesn't touch anything. Doesn't touch anything, so we wrapped it in some electrical tape and pulled the alternator out.
As part of going through this electrical stuff to get it to where I can take the transmission off, I'm just chasing old wires and finding wires that aren't even connected to anything anymore, that aren't doing anything. So part of today is also going to be just getting rid of stuff that's antiquated and no longer in use to help make the engine space less cluttered, easier to clean, easier to maintain. So.
And old wires,
there's no point in having these old wires
exactly
hanging around doing absolutely nothing.
And there are a lot of wires in here. So you've found one now already, haven't you?
Yeah. So it's this one right here. This is an old engine starter solenoid that's no longer in use. Its ground wire looks like it's connected over here that it's not doing anything, so I'm gonna get rid of it.
And just feel the need to clarify that the aft cabin is where random things just get tossed. It's our garage storage collect all spot. So what have you removed?
The old starter solenoid. This guy right here. It was right here.
Which gives some good access to transmission, right? Cleans up a bunch of wires back there.
Yeah.
This loose floating one, would you point to that for us? Loose floating one that we're gonna have to trace back.
This one.
Yeah, we need to make sure it's disconnected up at the panel. It had sparks, and it was a bit shocking. And unexpected. I'm going to have Brady explain because I am not entirely sure what happened. I just saw the sparks. Talk to us, Goose.
I had not wrapped up the negative terminal that's coming from the engine this is just literally connected to the ground of the engine right now.
Okay.
But I touched it to something that is potentially positively charged. I think it's coming from the starter battery because there are some red cables going over to the starter, and I think that's where it touched on accident.
So now we're wrapping that as well, and hopefully we didn't screw anything up.
Hopefully not.
Good grief, that was frightening. You just don't want to see any
This is getting run so fast.
I know, honey. It's because I'm letting you use it.
Yeah.
If like it did something, it would do something to the starter, right? Because that's what it touched, or
Yeah,
not?
but I don't think I think what happened is electricity flowed from the positive wire just to the ground wire and out the engine. I don't think it went through any devices of any kind.
Okay, because that at least was grounded.
Yeah.
Okay. Is it normally attached to the alternator?
Yeah, this is
okay.
normally attached.
That's what I was trying to say earlier.
Alternator. But
okay.
right now it's not attached to anything.
No, it's just floating. Okay.
But.
So that was fun and exciting.
Yep.
Post lunch excitement, right?
Yeah.
So at this point, Brady is ready for the power to be off and start disconnecting our ground through the propeller shaft. So he has just done that. He's turned the DC power off. We do still have AC power because way back when we were installing our electrical and we were putting in our new inverter, he installed a hard off switch to disconnect any sort of current flow or anything like that into the system, which I think was extra. I don't think most people do this, but we did hardwire in a hard turn-off for the AC power using our inverter. So AC power right now is only using our dock power, so it is grounded through the dock, not through the boat anyway. So we have just turned off the DC power, so no extra lights going on right now. We didn't have any fans running anyway, and that means our fridge and freezer are also off. Those were the only things we had on with DC power, so it's not really affecting anything. We do need to work semi-quickly, not really quick, just because of the fridge and freezer and the items inside getting hot, but we do have time for that. It's not like a rush. So he's got a headlamp and he's getting ready to disconnect. He's looking at things and grabbing tools and things of that sort. So, banging on stuff. You know how it goes.
There it goes. Now they're free. Will you slide that blue oil can towards you?
Yeah.
Okay.
What are you trying to do?
Push it aft.
Today's kind of like a work and chores and all the things day, and I was just about to go start laundry, and he starts doing fun stuff like disconnecting big things and opening up our packing gland to let water run into the boat, you know, things like that I was gonna miss out on. So I haven't left yet, and we'll see what he's up to.
I don't know if it's gonna work because the thing back there where the packing gland is so jammed up with corrosion and crud. I don't think it's gonna slide
that far. So are we gonna have to work with it only going this far? Can we even work with it only going this far?
I don't know.
Okay.
So I know for a fact that this string does not need to be here because
that's for sure not going anywhere.
Not falling out like you were worried about.
Yeah. Well, I've just seen it happen to somebody else.
Right. Well, I didn't know what was going to happen either, but it's
not needed on our boat.
The propeller shaft on our boat's too
much tighter.
too dinged up to easily slide through.
So Brady is just undoing the nut off of a bolt on the propeller shaft coupling. Is that a coupling?
Yeah.
Where it connects to our transmission, just so he can re-ground to the propeller shaft with that bolt and nut.
Good angle on it. This guy, which I
doesn't have a good angle.
Running short on cable, does not have a good angle on it. Wondering about maybe if I go
upside down with it, like twist it full around. Yeah. Are those our only 2 grounds?
Yeah.
For the whole boat?
Yeah.
That's crazy. So yesterday's work ended up getting, I guess not really put on hold, we just ended up for the day. We did not manage to get the transmission completely removed. There are some bolts that are on the underneath side. We either need a ratcheting wrench, I think. I'm currently blanking, of course, you know, trying to talk about it and I can't remember what they're called. But yeah, we need either a ratcheting wrench or a angled bent wrench or something like that. I don't know. To be able to get to them, it's kind of an awkward spot. And nothing we had worked. So we were not able to do that. Also, we did realize, well, Brady realized today that the engine and transmission fit together and they, like, there's a part on the engine that sticks out that the transmission like slides onto. So we are going to have to move the transmission aft to then be able to remove it, which means, and there's maybe some bolts that have to do that too, but we're unsure about those. But that means we're going to have to scoot the propeller shaft further aft, which we ended up quit filming that process. I think I filmed a little bit after we finished, just like showing the gap, but ended up taking both of us and a significant amount of work and finagling, and it was very difficult. It was a struggle. So yeah, there's not any footage of that. But if we're going to have to move it further back, we're not really sure how, I don't know, it's gonna be a mess. And also re-getting the ground wires to attach to that was another two-handed, like, well, four-handed, I guess. All of us trying to do that. So there's not footage of that either, which was also a nightmare. If we're gonna have to move that further aft, which we are, it's probably gonna have to be like loosen the packing gland and just let the water pour in and hopefully get lucky. I don't know. It's gonna be a nightmare because to move that, you have to loosen the packing gland. It allows water to cool the propeller shaft when it spins. And while underway, when the motor is running and it is spinning, you should get a very, very, very slow drip into the boat. It keeps it so that way, like if you were to touch the propeller shaft, it should only be warm, it should not be hot, and that is a cooling system. So we have to loosen that a lot to be able to slide the propeller shaft aft. So water is just pouring into the boat. You may or may not be able to hear it on the footage, I'm not sure. While that's happening, it's fine. We have a bilge that works and a backup bilge, so it's totally fine. Of course, neither of those were on while we were doing the project because we had the power off. I think we're going to have to loosen the packing gland even more to be able to scoot it back. Brady's thinking like 3 inches, which is going to be a nightmare, but we'll see. That's on tomorrow's to-do list. Brady's off at work now. And also he is borrowing a ratcheting wrench from somebody at work. There should have brought it today for him to pick up. So hopefully tomorrow we will actually be able to remove the transmission, which would be super exciting. We still don't have a pump to be able to get the transmission oil out of the transmission, which would definitely make it lighter to remove if we could do that. So we're probably gonna end up asking somebody on the dock if we can borrow theirs, because everybody around here should have that on their boat, and it's just a bummer that ours, which is from like 1950, not really, I'm being dramatic, but ours, which is very old and has worked. I mean, we purchased something to do this previously, and we were gonna get rid of the really old one, and the purchased one didn't even work out of the packaging. And so we've been using this really old one that came on the boat, and now of course it's decided to quit working. So there's kind of our update, and hopefully that transmission is removed tomorrow, which will feel so good, particularly because the guy we bought the transmission from has asked a few times when to expect this transmission, because it's kind of like a core swap on a battery. We send our old one to him, and he refunds us, I think it was like $300, and then he fixes it and puts it on the shelf for the next person. It's a lot of work, but progress feels good, that's for sure.